Hi Scott, this is the Masked Analyst. I would call myself either an atheist with a twist of agnostic or an agnostic leaning heavily toward atheism. So I'm not really sure if I get a free pass on this one and don't have to respond to it or not, but let me give you my take on things. You can prove a given God with a given set of characteristics, either by showing that believing in him requires you to believe in something that contradicts known facts, or by showing that believing in him requires you to believe that he has certain characteristics which are mutually contradictory. And I have a link to a video by RabidApe, and he explains why he's an atheist, and his fifth point is particularly telling. He quotes Epicurus in it, in which he shows that you can't have a God that is all-knowing, all-powerful, and all-benevolent. Those three characteristics just cannot logically be within the same being, and the proof goes something like this. Is God willing to prevent evil but not able? Then he is not omnipotent. Is he able but not willing? Then he is malevolent. Is he both able and willing? Then whence cometh evil? Is he neither able nor willing? Then why call him a God? So it's possible to show that if you say that God has these particular characteristics, and if the characteristics are mutually exclusive, then you can show that at least that particular version of a God doesn't exist. You can also deduce certain things about God by looking how his holy book portrays him. And I don't just mean looking at the puffery within the book that says, oh, God is so great, he is so benevolent, he's so merciful, and this and that. No, you actually have to look at what the God demands of us and how he behaves. For example, the Bible says that God sees everything into the future. You can see he has perfect knowledge of the future, which implies that when he created the world for the first time with Adam and Eve and all that, that he was able to see a few thousand years down the line that man would become wicked and that he would have to destroy 99.9999999% of them in a massive flood because they did not worship him and follow his commandments in the way that he wanted. I'd say that this version of God is, by just looking at that, I'd have to say that he's a pretty sick, twisted individual if he's willing to murder almost everybody because they don't bow down and worship him. He very much, it sounds to me like he very much has a problem that he needs his ego being constantly boosted to have people worship. And if you don't worship me, well, you just die, or you go to hell forever, burn in a sea of hellfire. You can also look at the Ten Commandments, and looking at the first three commandments. I mean, these are the top three commandments that he has. I am your God; you shall have no other god before me. Number 1. 2. You shall not make for yourself an idol in the form of anything that can be worshipped, and you shall not bow down to them or worship them. For I, the Lord the God, am a jealous God, punishing children for the iniquity of parents to the third and the fourth generation of those who reject me. I'll tell you, this God is sounding like a pretty mean SOB to me. If he's not just punishing those who refuse to worship them, but he's punishing the children who are totally innocent. It's through no fault of their own that their parent or their grandparent or their great grandparent didn't worship him, but he's going to nail those little babies. So I'd have to say that based on these, and then the third one, the third commandment, you shall not take my name in vain. Judging from his commandments, I'd have to say he's really got a self-confidence problem if he needs people to worship him so much. He's a twisted SOB, and pure evil is how one could describe him based on what he demands. Of course, I'm not sure that the Muslim God is all that much better. They say that he demands worship 5 times a day. That kind of makes it sound to me like he's jonesing for a fix, like a junkie who can't wait to get his fix, or else I'm not sure why, but he absolutely needs his fix. So one can look at these things and make a characteristics of God's as they are portrayed by man. Of course, there's something else we can say about God in that he seems kind of shy. Despite his urgent need to be worshipped, he, for whatever reason, refuses to give us clear, unambiguous proof of his existence. Proof that anyone could tell just by looking at the proof, that there's no other way to explain it. And so you have simultaneously a prayer junkie and someone who's a bit reluctant to show his face. Now, what kind of proof would I need, would I think would be totally unambiguous? Well, certainly if God is all-powerful, he could certainly provide it. For example, he could have the sun blink in Morse code, saying, "I am God, worship me." And then he could follow that by having it spell out in Morse code a specific prediction of something that will come to pass in the future. And I am providing a link to a video by someone called OneLessGod, and he spells out what type of prophecy, what a prophecy would look like that was specific and unambiguous. And there have been no prophecies that, as far as I know, of this specificness that everyone would be able to interpret the same way. But if there was really a God who really wanted us to worship him, it's certainly within his capabilities of giving us the proof. Yet for whatever reason, he tends to be a bit of a shy little guy. What can I say? Of course, it's one thing, as I said, it's one thing to show that a specific God with specific characteristics doesn't exist. It's another thing to say that no God can exist. For all I know, there could be somewhere out in the far corners of the universe a super tap dancing God that when he tap dances to the sound of his own name, the universe will end and start again when he taps his feet out in a certain pattern. For all I know, it could be true. I have absolutely no evidence of it, though, and so I would tend not. I'll come right out and say I don't believe such a God exists. Brett Keane made an interesting video about why agnostics logics is flawed, why the logic of agnostics are flawed, and I'm providing a link to that one as well. And his theme is that, well, you can't prove that God doesn't exist. Okay, it's impossible to prove a negative. I can't prove that there aren't purple unicorns. Maybe they're invisible purple unicorns. Maybe there are such beings out there, but we can't prove it. It's illogical to say, though, that there may be purple unicorns. The probability of there being invisible purple unicorns is so small as to be non-existent. So you may as well take the atheist stance. And I hope I'm not misrepresenting Brett's stance, but that's what he says, that being an agnostic is illogical because you should take a stance one way or the other. Now, I see something a little bit different. There is an ultimate mystery that science has yet to shed any clue on, and maybe someday in the far future we'll have some better knowledge. But before the Big Bang, where did all matter and energy come from? Where did it all start? I don't know. Maybe it was a supreme being who did this. Of course, it's just as logical to ask, well, where did the supreme being come from? But the fact of the matter is, we just don't know. So here's what I can conclude. I have no reason to believe that there is a God. I haven't seen the type of evidence that would be required to see a God. It's possible that a supreme being, a higher being, could exist, and he takes a hands-off approach, and he doesn't really interfere much in this world, and that's certainly possible. It could certainly explain the beginnings of the universe. So I will not actually come out and say there is no God, there never was a God. I can't go that far and say there's absolutely no God. What I can say is, if there is a God, I haven't seen any real significant, strong evidence for his being. I have seen, it looks like this God is more than willing to let nature unfold and take its course, and that he was reluctant to intervene in a benevolent way in affairs. I think it's foolish to be fighting and dying for a non-existent being, but I can't actually come out and say that there is no God and there never was a God. Well, this has been the Masked Analyst, under and in.